today. It is Wednesday, September 12th, 2018. How are you all doing? I'm doing pretty well. It has been an interesting day, very super busy. It is 5:30 and I already have 7,800 steps on my Fitbit. So that tells you the type of day I've had today. We're going to jump right on in because I have a lot to tell you about my stitching, and that's basically all I've really been doing the last, so last week I had this wonderful plan of using the Tiny Decisions app to decide what I wanted to stitch each day for the next 7 days. Did that happen? No, not at all. So I made it 2 days. I made it day 1, which was last Wednesday, because it pulled up my By the Bay, which I was actually currently working on, and I was happy about that. So I gladly worked on that another day. Then day 2, Thursday, it pulled up the mushroom sampler. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll work on that. And then day 3, I started getting actually day 2, I started getting anxious about having to spin the wheel again. And because I was not ready to switch out on the mushrooms. And so I chose not to spin the wheel. Well, I spun the wheel, and whenever it didn't land on mushrooms, I chose to ignore the wheel and continue working on mushrooms. So, yeah, the Tiny Decision Maker on a daily basis is not for me. But I tried, and I gave it a good effort. But I knew by the end of day 2 it was not going to work because I was getting so anxious about the thought of having to work on something each day that I was not set up on the couch for. Like, that's just too much for me, mentally and physically. That's just too much switching out too quickly. And I just couldn't handle it. So I chose not to. So here's what I have to show you today. So like I said, on Wednesday, after I was done filming, I went ahead and started working on, I spun the wheel and I started working again on my By the Bay. This is what it'll look like when it's done. It's By the Bay 13th Colony, Part 1. Now, another reason why I also chose to discontinue the wheel is that I have some goals I would really like to achieve by the end of the month. Finishing part 1 is one of those goals because all I have left is this side of the design from here down, and that's not going to take me a whole lot of time. So here's what I was able to do last week. I was able to, I think I already had most of this hillside here, the 2 colors. I went ahead and put I finished the house. Did I finish? Yes, I filled in the house. I did the fence. I finished the trees. And I started on the first color of the lake or the bay. And while I was I don't know if I mentioned this, while I was doing the second color of this down here, I went ahead and did the second color right here, just because right here is the page break. So there's like 4 stitches the whole way down through here on one page, and everything else is on another page. So it's kind of like flip-flopping back and forth between the page as I work on each color. So I figured while I had that color out up here, I'd go ahead and just do those few stitches on that one page. And then whenever I get down here, I will finish that color out. Just so I'll have that done for that page. I don't know. That's just what I did that with that color. But I'm trying to work down just to make it as simple as possible. So very pleased with how that's coming along. I'm really loving the colors in this and the way it's looking on this fabric. This is 46 count Rocky Mountain by XJU Designs. And I will say I really, really, really like 46 count. Very much so. I really like the higher count fabrics just because I enjoy using one strand of floss. So this is probably what I'm going to start working again on tonight. Because last night I did have a finish, but I can't show it to you because it's a Christmas present. So, By the Bay, 13th Colony, Part 1. I worked on that one day this week. My guess is because I'm so close to a finish on this part, I'm probably going to work on this to completion. And it might be done for next week. Might be. Again, but I'm not setting goals because when I set goals, they don't happen. Okay. Then I said on Thursday, I spun the wheel and my mushroom sampler came up. And I decided I was working on this motif here. And if you follow me on Instagram, you already know that that motif is now done because I stitched on it until completion. And I think I completed it on Saturday. And because that motif is complete, I was able to take it out of the Q-snap and you will get to see it completely to date. But first I will show you that motif. So there is that motif, 100% complete. You know, I really like this leaf. It was a pain to stitch just because it's all half stitches, and then it has the back stitching on it. But it turned out once it was completely, and it's half stitches with like 4 different colors. But once it was completely stitched up, it turned out really, really nice. So here is the design to date. There we go. As you can see, I have more border on this side, more fabric on this side than I do on this side. What I did was I started up here in this top left corner, and I think I measured 2 inches. I'm fairly certain that's a 2-inch border. And so thinking that that was probably what they allotted for a border, and not thinking that they were going to give me an, because, you know, it's a kit. Kits don't usually give you a lot of border. And they definitely gave me more fabric than I anticipated. But that's all right because I still have plenty of fabric for framing. And plenty of fabric at the bottom for framing, so it will turn out nicely. So 3 corners completed. I have 1 corner left to complete, but 2 sides. My intention is to work across the bottom next, but I don't know. We'll wait and see how I feel when I go to put it in the Q-snap next. So that is my mushroom sampler. Looking good. And that was my second goal that I had wanted to finish by the end of the month, was to finish this motif. And that is now done. So that is the first of the goals that I had done. So the three goals that I really wanted to achieve by the end of this month was finish the motif on the mushroom, complete part 1 of By the Bay, and then have a page completion on my Heaven and Earth Designs Henry VIII. Now, I say that because I'm really wanting to work on him, but I haven't really been motivated to work on him. I actually did work on him because once I finished the mushroom sampler motif, I decided to pull out Henry. So here is what he will look like when he is completed. It is a design by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork is by Hans Holbein. I have 8 pages left to finish on Henry, and he will be 100% complete. And this is my oldest project. So I went ahead and I have him laying or leaning up against the wall in my living room, so that if I look at him enough, I would hope that I get the urge and the motivation to stitch on him. And I thought I had it on Sunday. And so I stitched on him for a good portion of the day on Sunday. And then towards the evening, I just lost all motivation. So here's what I got done. And as you can see, here is the page finish where I completed prior. And here's what I got done. So not very much. Probably 3 hours worth of progress. But at the same time, it's still stitches done in him. But I was really losing motivation to stitch at all, and I figured it was probably Henry, and I was like, I need to put him away. So I did. So that is all the stitching, and then once I put him away, I went ahead and pulled out that Christmas present project that I had going, and I worked on that until I finally finished it late last night. And that's all the stitching I have for you. Cross stitching. So that is my cross stitching for the week. Now my knitting. I haven't really knit much this week. And it's not going to look like much has changed in the 7 days since I showed this to you last. So I don't even have the picture. Oh, there it is. Uno momento, as I stumble. For those of you who are new to my channel or might have missed last week's video, I am knitting the Alchemy pullover from the 3rd edition of the Rib magazine. I'm knitting this in Wool of the Andes yarn from Knit Picks. My main color is chestnut. And I have my progress keeper at the spot where I was last week. And as you can see, I have I don't know, maybe 2 inches farther done. Now, I'm going to keep my progress keeper there. What I might do is go ahead and throw another progress keeper on just for progress for this week. But this is my 10-inch mark from the bottom, what I need to do is stitch so many inches from the cast on line, and so I want to keep that there just so I know that that's 10 inches. So right now it's just stockinette stitch round and round and round and round and round and round and round. So I do this a lot late at night after I'm done cross stitching, when I'm just trying to finish up watching a TV show, or while I'm on the phone, anything like that. So I will sit there and knit because I don't really have to think. I can just knit. So that's what I've been working on with my knitting. Now, I do know that Caroline announced on Monday that we are getting ramped up for socks, so that is exciting. I already have my sock yarn ready to go, so I will be ready to go for socks here in a couple weeks. So looking forward to that. So I will probably have to cast those on around the same time, and I'll just have a couple projects going at the same time. And I think she said something about having both an option for either circular needles or DPNs. I will probably, if that is the case, and she's not going to force us into one, I will be doing circulars because I feel more comfortable with circular needles than I do DPNs. These fingers work much better on circulars than DPNs. Okay, so all I have left for you then is I did get one thing in the mail this week, and that is another package from Hungary. After my last package from Hungary, I had messaged Judy from XG Designs, and I had asked her to custom dye me because she does custom dyes. So if you're interested in a custom dye piece of fabric, you have something in mind but you can't find a fabric that is working for you, message Judy because she does an amazing job. So I have a project in mind that I needed a rather large piece of fabric for. And I don't really need a rather large piece of fabric for the actual project. I need the rather large piece of fabric for the way I intend to frame it when I am done. I want to ensure that I have plenty of border fabric for options of framing. And I'm going to keep it to myself for now because I'm going to do that. So I went ahead and ordered this piece, a half a yard, fat half, and I asked her to, and I'm not quite, prepared as usual. Again, if you remember correctly, well, I don't know if you remember correctly or not, but if you remember, I had purchased this piece of dark sand from her a couple weeks ago. And I really loved it, and I thought it would work perfectly for the project I had in mind, but it was too small as far as framing. So what I did was I asked her if she could dye me a half yard in the same colorway, but I wanted it just a little bit darker. And she did. And I think it's going to work perfectly for what I have in mind because it's not quite as modeled, which is nice. And so here is the piece of fabric. Now this is folded in half, so I don't have to like reach out really far, but here is the fabric that I received. And I absolutely love it. I think it is going to work excellently for the colors in the project that I'm doing it for. And I think it's just going to be perfect. So thank you, Judy. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know she's watching. please keep in mind that if you're interested, she does have her Fabrics of the Month Club. So go check that out as well, because she does amazing fabrics. And, you know, I pretty much get all of my hand-dyed fabrics from her because it's well worth the weight and the shipping from Hungary, in my humble Ginger Gerald opinion. So that is what I will be stitching a project on shortly. It might be a new start next month, if I can wait that long. I do need to get By the Bay done first. That's why I have these goals, because I need to get some stuff done before I make these new starts, because I'm starting the Hedgehog Sow with Buckeye Stitcher Nicole on October 1st, and I'm probably going to be starting this very shortly. So, and not only did she send me this, she had to go and throw in, as she always does, a freebie skein of wonderful floss, and I really like this color floss. This is Deep Impact, so it is 2 shades. It's like a, and it's not going to show up at all because of my lighting today. There is a, there it is. So it's like 2 different colors of green. It's a rainforesty green, and then you can really see the lighter green very well, and the rainforesty green here. Very nice. Love it, love it. So that is all the stuff I got in the mail this week. If you haven't gone and checked out my Etsy store, I would love that you do. Definitely favorite the store, favorite the items that you like. They are always available. All of my patterns are available as a PDF and a printed pattern. Go check them out. I know Caroline had mentioned that the SAL, the stitch along for the new design that had just came out last week, Stories of the North Part 1, will be starting up most likely around next Friday. I think she's going to do a Stitch With Me video, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Caroline. I think her video next week is going to be a Stitch With Me with that pattern. And I believe it's hashtag Stories of the North 1 SAL. But I could be wrong. Go check it out in my previous video. All the information will be there. And so those patterns are available. Part 2 will be coming out in a few weeks. I do not know a date. I'm still working on finalizing that pattern and getting it ready to go. And that's my shop update. But all of my patterns are available and ready for a digital download, or for me to send them out to your home through U.S. Postal Service. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining me today, and I really enjoy coming to you every week and having a little chat about what I did all week. And I look forward to reading your comments about the things you've been up to, and looking forward to seeing the updates on the on the SAL for the new pattern. I will be joining along as I'm stitching up my belt buckle. So with that, I will leave you, and don't forget to always be creative.